The twin sons of Varian were dying behind a wall of dust when Leora walked through the broken streets. Her village had turned silent weeks ago. The air smelled of burnt metal and hunger. Children no longer played in the alleys. Shops were empty. The crops had turned gray after the last radiation storm. Leora carried a small piece of cloth wrapped around 2 dried berries. It was all she had left for her daughters. Her hands shook as she stepped into the shelter. Inside, 2 little girls were sitting close to a weak heater. Their faces were pale. Their eyes had lost the bright color they once had. "Eat this," Leora said softly, breaking the berries in half. She placed 1 piece into each small hand. "Mom," whispered Rin, the older one. "You didn't eat again." "I already ate," Leora lied with a smile. Her stomach hurt, but she didn't show it. She sat beside them and looked at the cracked ceiling. The world outside was dying, and so was she. On the far end of the colony, a loudspeaker repeated the same message. "Voluntary organ trade. Fair credits paid. Save your family. 1 donation can feed a home." Leora had heard it for weeks. She had ignored it every time. But that night, her youngest daughter, Mira, coughed blood. The sound froze her heart. She rushed to her side, shaking her gently. Mira's breathing was shallow. Leora's heart pounded like thunder. She pressed her hand against her chest. She knew what she had to do. Before dawn, she walked alone through the mist. The organ trade office glowed faintly under a broken neon sign. Inside, a man in a metal chair looked up. He was human, tall, tired, and carrying the scent of starship oil. His name tag read Evan Rourke. "You're here to sell?" he asked without emotion. She nodded. "What organ?" Leora hesitated. Then she said the words that felt like poison. "My heart." The man's eyes widened. "You understand that's fatal?" "I will take a synthetic core," she replied. "Enough to stay alive for a while. I just need credits for my daughters." He studied her face. The alien woman looked fragile, but her eyes were steady, filled with something stronger than fear. Evan leaned back in silence. "No one has ever offered that before," he muttered. "Why the heart?" "Because it's all I have left worth anything," she said. He entered her name into the terminal. The machine printed a long paper filled with warnings and numbers. "You will be unconscious during the procedure." "You'll feel nothing," he said. She smiled weakly. Feeling nothing might be a gift. In the cold operating room, Leora lay down. A mask covered her face. She thought of Rin and Mira sleeping under her old blanket. When the machine started, she whispered a small prayer. The light dimmed. Her pulse slowed. The sound of the machine mixed with the beating inside her chest. Then silence. Hours later, she woke with a strange mechanical rhythm inside her body. It ticked like a clock. A faint glow pulsed under her skin. She touched her chest. It didn't hurt, but it didn't feel alive. Evan stood beside her bed. He held a small container. Inside it, a heart that still glowed with faint pink light. "It's still beating," he said quietly. Leora looked at it and felt tears rise. "Take care of it," she whispered. He didn't answer. He only nodded once and sealed the case. When she returned home, her daughters ran to her. She hugged them tightly, hiding the trembling in her hands. She placed a small bag of food on the table. Their eyes lit up. "Where did you get this?" Rin asked. "Someone helped us," she said softly. That night, while her daughters ate for the first time in days, Leora sat by the window. She could see the stars through the cracks in the glass. One of them was moving, a ship leaving the planet. Evan's ship. Somewhere inside it, her real heart was beating far from her body. She pressed her hand against her chest again. The synthetic pulse was cold. Her breath turned shaky. For a moment, she thought she could still feel the warmth of her old heart, far away, calling back to her. In his ship, Evan sat alone, staring at the containment case. The heart's light grew brighter, almost as if it were alive. His instruments flickered. A soft sound filled the cabin, like a heartbeat syncing with his own. He didn't understand it, but he couldn't look away. On Varian, Leora whispered to herself, "Stay alive, my girls." In space, the human whispered, "What are you?" And somewhere between them, across the dark of the stars, her real heart kept beating. Not for one life, but for 2. The night was silent again, but the universe had already changed. Neither of them knew it yet, but their fates were now bound by one impossible heart. Evan Rourke had seen many strange things during his years in the outer colonies. but never something like this. Inside the glass containment box, the alien heart still glowed softly. It pulsed with a steady rhythm, brighter whenever he came close. His ship's scanners showed faint electrical signals, like thoughts or dreams trapped inside the tissue. He sat in silence, the hum of his cargo ship echoing through the metal walls. The stars outside stretched into long silver lines as he jumped into hyperspace. Still, the heart beat inside the box, calm and alive. His ship's AI spoke in its usual calm tone. Bioorganic sample is active. Neural residue detected. Evan frowned. Neural residue means memory, right? Correct, replied the AI. The heart is retaining traces of emotional energy. It feels fear. It feels love. He stared at it. Love, he repeated quietly. He didn't believe it, but the sound of the word made his chest tighten. He closed the box and leaned back in his seat. For the first time in years, he couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw her face, the alien woman with tired eyes who said, "Take care of it." Days passed as he traveled between systems, selling goods and trading old tech. But something was wrong. The ship started reacting strangely. Lights flickered. Power fluctuations appeared whenever he was near the cargo bay. The AI began detecting unknown energy patterns. One night, as he ran diagnostics, a faint heartbeat echoed through the ship's speakers. He froze. The sound was not from the system. It was from the heart. It had connected itself to the ship's energy grid. AI, shut off that line, he ordered. Cannot comply, the voice replied. Organic entity has synchronized with ship systems. Evan felt a chill. You mean it's alive? Yes, said the AI, and it recognizes you. He stared at the glowing box. It pulsed faster, like it was responding to his voice. The light turned warm, golden and alive. He whispered, "What do you want from me?" The box vibrated once. Then the light dimmed. Silence filled the room. Later, when he sat down for a meal, he noticed something impossible. His wrist, which had a deep burn scar from years ago, was healing. The skin was closing, cell by cell. He looked at his arm in disbelief. The heart was giving energy back to him. That night he dreamed. He saw a small house made of cracked stone. 2 children sat by a fire laughing. A woman stood near them, her face half hidden by shadow. She looked at him and said softly, "Thank you for letting me see them." He woke up gasping for air. The heart inside the box was glowing brighter than ever. Evan stood in front of it. "Who are you?" he asked again, but this time his voice was softer. He didn't get an answer. But he didn't need one. Deep down he already knew this was not just a piece of flesh. It was a part of someone still alive, still feeling, still searching. Days turned into weeks. The more time he spent near the heart, the more he felt it changing him. His reflexes became sharper. His senses improved. The ship's AI even recorded his heart rate syncing with the alien organ. But every gain came with a price. At night he started feeling sadness that wasn't his own. He felt hunger, pain, longing, emotions that came from somewhere far away. It was like sharing his body with a ghost. One evening, while cleaning the glass, he saw something new. Inside the glowing tissue, faint holographic shapes began to appear. 2 small girls holding hands. He stepped back, shocked. They were alive somewhere, and this heart remembered them. He realized then that this heart belonged to a mother and it still beat for her children. He whispered quietly, "You're not supposed to still be alive." The heart pulsed once, bright and strong, as if answering him. "I am, because they are." He looked out the window at the endless stars. He didn't know where those children were, but he knew one thing. He couldn't sell the heart. He couldn't study it. He couldn't destroy it. He had to find them. The human smuggler who once bought a dying woman's heart now carried a new mission: to return it. And far away, on the broken world of Varion, a mother awoke in the night clutching her chest. Her synthetic heart ticked unevenly, but she felt something deep inside, a pulse that didn't belong to the machine. Somewhere out there, her real heart was calling her name. Years passed on the ruined planet of Varion. The storms had grown weaker, but the hunger never left. Leora's daughters, Rin and Mira, were no longer little girls. They worked in a scrapyard near the old docks, repairing broken drones and selling metal scraps to survive. Rin was tall and quiet, her skin marked with small silver scars from years of labor. Mira was smaller, with bright eyes that still carried warmth even in the cold world around them. They lived together in a rusted shelter made from old ship parts, sharing whatever food they could find. At night, when the wind howled through the cracks, Mira often asked about their mother's choice. "Why did she do it, Rin? Why give away her heart?" Rin would pause, looking at the flickering light. "Because she had no other way to keep us alive," she said softly. Mira shook her head. "Then why do I feel like part of her is still missing?" Rin didn't answer, but she felt the same. Every time their mother touched her chest, they saw pain in her eyes, like something inside her was calling out far away. One day, while scavenging near the old port, they overheard two traders talking. "Did you hear about the human smuggler?" one said. "He carries a living alien heart that glows like starlight." The other laughed. "A myth. No heart beats outside its body." But Rin froze. Her breath caught in her throat. A glowing heart. A human smuggler. She turned to Mira. "We need to find him." That night they returned home and told their mother. Leora's face turned pale. Her mechanical pulse faltered. "Forget it," she said in a trembling voice. "That heart is gone." "It's not ours anymore." Rin stepped closer. "What if it still remembers you?" Leora looked at her daughters, fear and hope fighting inside her eyes. Then she turned away. Even if it does, some things are better lost, but Rin couldn't forget. The next morning, she packed a small bag with tools, credits, and an old photograph of their family. Mira begged her not to go alone, and so they left together, following whispers of trade routes and ship logs. They crossed the desert of glass, where the wind carried shards that cut through skin. They slept in old cargo pods. They traded scrap for food and asked every pilot they met if they'd heard of a human named Evan Rourke. Weeks turned into months. Their clothes grew torn, but their determination never broke. Then, one night at a small fuel station orbiting the edge of the system, they finally heard a name. "The human smuggler with the glowing heart? He passed here 2 cycles ago," said the station clerk. "He was heading to the free ports near the Nabar belt." Mira looked at her sister. "Then that's where we go." Rin nodded, though exhaustion showed in her face. They borrowed a damaged shuttle from an old mechanic who owed their mother a favor. The engine sputtered, but it flew. Inside the small ship, they sat in silence as stars moved past them. Mira held the photo tightly. "Do you think he's dangerous?" Rin kept her eyes on the controls. "If he has her heart, he's part of her now. That means he can't be all bad." As they entered the Nabar belt, the ship shook under the pull of asteroid gravity. Through the window, they saw lights. Hundreds of ships floating together, trading, smuggling, hiding. Rin guided their shuttle toward a landing bay full of noise and smoke. The port smelled of fuel and metal. Voices from every world filled the air. Mira stayed close as they searched. Then they saw him. A tall human man with a rough jacket and tired eyes carrying a small silver box in his hand. The light from the box flickered once. Leora's daughter stopped walking. They could feel it, a pulse faint but familiar echoing in their chests. Mira whispered, "That's it, Rin. That's her." Evan turned slowly, his eyes meeting theirs. For a moment he didn't move. He looked confused, almost afraid. Then the light from the box brightened as if recognizing them. The crowd around them faded from his mind. He saw their faces, the same faces from his dreams. The same children who had smiled at the fire in his visions. Rin stepped forward, voice shaking. "You have something that belongs to our mother." Evan stared at them. He didn't deny it. He didn't speak. He only held the box tighter. The air between them filled with silence, heavy and alive. The heart inside the container pulsed once more, brighter than before. A bridge forming between the human and the daughters of the woman who had once given him life. And in that moment, none of them knew if they were about to start a miracle or a tragedy. The trade port on the Nabar belt was never quiet. Engines roared, metal doors slammed, and voices from 100 worlds mixed in the smoky air. But when Rin and Mira saw the human standing near Dock 17, everything else disappeared. He was taller than they imagined, wearing an old flight jacket marked with burns. His eyes were tired but kind, and in his hands he carried a small silver box. Inside it, light pulsed softly in their mother's heart. For a long moment, no one moved. Rin's hands trembled. Mira's breath caught in her throat. They had crossed half the galaxy for this. The human turned, sensing their stare. His eyes met theirs. He looked confused at first, then almost scared. Rin took one step forward. "You have something that belongs to our mother." He didn't answer. The heart inside the box began to glow brighter, faster, as if reacting to the sound of her voice. People nearby turned to look, but none dared approach. There was something strange in the air, something alive. Finally, the human spoke. His voice was calm but heavy. "You're her daughters." Rin nodded slowly. "Her name is Leora." Evan's expression changed. For a second, he looked away as if fighting something inside him. "I know," he said softly. "She told me in a dream." Mira stepped closer. "Dream?" He hesitated, then opened the box slightly. A golden light spilled out, warm and beautiful. The organ floated in stasis, beating steady like a drum of life. "It speaks," he said. "Not with words. With feelings. It shows me things. 2 girls by a fire. A promise to come home." Rin's eyes filled with tears. "That's us." Evan looked at them almost in disbelief. Then it was never a dream. Suddenly, alarms blared across the dock. Red lights flashed. The station guards shouted orders. "Unauthorized biosignal detected. Containment breach risk." Evan closed the box fast. "We need to move now." Rin frowned. "Why?" "They've been hunting me for months. The heart's energy draws attention. They think it's a weapon." Without another word, he grabbed their hands and pulled them toward the maintenance tunnels. Mira wanted to resist, but something in his eyes, fear mixed with guilt, made her follow. They ran through narrow passages as sirens echoed above. Steam burst from pipes and shadows danced under flashing lights. Behind them, armed guards spread out, scanners tracking the energy pulse. Inside a dim corridor, they stopped to catch their breath. Evan leaned against the wall, holding the box close. Rin faced him. "You stole her heart." He shook his head. "She gave it to me. I didn't understand then. I thought it was just trade. But it saved my life more than once. It healed me, it warned me, it cared for me." Mira stared at the faint glow. "You talk like it's alive." "It is," Evan said. "It never stopped beating for her." For a moment, silence filled the air except for the hum of engines and the slow rhythm coming from the box. Then footsteps approached from behind. "Stay quiet," Evan whispered. He opened a maintenance hatch and motioned them inside. They crawled through, metal scraping under their hands. When they reached the end, a small airlock led to his ship, the Warden. It was old, scratched, but still powerful. He opened the hatch and guided them in. The doors sealed just as the guards entered the corridor outside. Inside the ship, the light of the heart grew stronger, casting soft patterns on the walls. Mira touched the glass. "It feels warm," she said. Evan looked at her. "Because it knows you." Rin turned toward him. "You could have sold it for a fortune. Why didn't you?" He looked at her with a tired smile. "Because it started saving my life. You don't sell something that loves you." The ship lifted off, breaking free from the dock. Through the viewport, they saw the Nibar belt fade behind them. Evan set a course toward Varian. Rin watched him closely. "You're returning it." He nodded. "It's time." As they entered open space, the stars reflected in their eyes. The heart pulsed between them, steady, glowing, alive. Mira whispered, "Mom will feel it." Evan replied quietly, "She already does." Outside, a faint tremor rippled across the void, as if the universe itself was listening. Far away on a dying planet, Leora woke suddenly. Her synthetic pulse stumbled. She pressed her hand against her chest and whispered, "It's coming home." The ship warden drifted through deep space, silent except for the low hum of its engines. Inside, Evan sat at the control desk, the silver box placed beside him. The faint light inside it beat softly, steady as breath. Rin and Mira sat across from him, still unsure if they should trust the human who carried their mother's heart. They had expected a thief, maybe a monster, but the man before them looked tired, not cruel, like someone carrying a weight too heavy for one soul. For hours, no one spoke. The heart pulsed between them, warm and alive. It cast soft gold light across their faces. Finally, Rin broke the silence. "You said it showed you dreams. What did you see?" Evan looked at the box. "I saw her," he said quietly. "Your mother." She was standing in a small house. She smiled at me. She said to keep the light safe until it was time to return it. Mira leaned forward. "She talked to you?" "Not with words. With feeling," he said. "When I was dying once, it saved me. It kept me alive. I didn't understand how. Rin crossed her arms. So why return it now? Evan sighed. Because I think it's dying. It's losing strength. Maybe it needs her again. Before anyone could answer, the ship's AI interrupted. Energy surge detected within containment, it said. Unknown data pattern emerging. Evan frowned. Put it on the screen. The holographic display lit up. From the center of the heart's glow, tiny waves of light formed shapes. Symbols, memories, and then faces. Leora appeared in the projection, smiling weakly. Her voice came faintly like an echo carried through stars. My daughters, she said. If you are seeing this, it means my heart has traveled far. I gave it so you could live. I wanted to feed you, to see you grow. But I never thought it would live on its own. Mira covered her mouth, tears falling. Leora's voice continued. This heart is more than mine. It carries something ancient. A link to all life that feels love. It was never meant to die. If it has chosen you, human, it means it saw kindness in you. Evan's throat tightened. She knew, he whispered. She trusted you, Rin said softly. The message flickered again. Leora's image turned serious. If the heart begins to fade, it means its energy is divided. It must return to me before the synthetic core fails. If not, I will die, and the heart will vanish with me. Then the light dimmed and the projection disappeared. Silence filled the cabin again. Evan leaned forward, resting his hands on the box. She's dying. Rin wiped her eyes. Then we have to go faster. He nodded. I'll push the engines. The ship roared as he increased power. The stars outside turned into bright streaks, but the heart began to flicker again, weaker each minute. The lights in the cabin dimmed with it. Mira placed her hands on the glass, whispering softly. Hold on, we're coming. The AI spoke again. Warning. Containment field losing stability. Evan looked around. If the field breaks, the energy could burn through the ship. Rin stood beside him. Then what do we do? He looked at her with steady eyes. We don't stop. As they raced through the void, the ship shook violently. The engines strained. Electric arcs ran across the walls. Evan held the controls tight, trying to keep them on course. Then something strange happened. The heart's glow burst outward, spreading through the ship like a wave of golden light. For a moment, they saw visions. Rin and Mira as children playing in the dust, Leora singing softly to them, and a young Evan lost in the stars. When the light faded, the ship was quiet again. The heart glowed faintly, weaker but still alive. Mira looked at him. It showed you too. Evan nodded slowly. Because now we're part of it. Rin turned toward the viewport where the blue outline of their homeworld appeared in the distance. We're close. Evan took a deep breath. Then we make it count. The heart's light steadied as if it heard them. It beat once, strong and slow, like a promise waiting to be kept. Far below, on the dying world of Varion, Leora opened her eyes. Her synthetic core glitched, sparks running across her chest. She looked at the sky and whispered, Come home, my heart. And somewhere above the clouds, her heart answered with a single bright pulse. The ship warden broke through the thick orange clouds of Varion. Below them stretched a dying world, cracked soil, ruined farms, and hollow towns that once held life. The wind carried dust across empty plains, whispering the stories of those who had given up hope. Inside the cockpit, Evan gripped the controls tightly. Rin and Mira stood behind him, staring through the glass. Their hearts beat fast. We're home, Mira whispered. Rin nodded. If we're not too late. The silver box on the console glowed weakly. The heartbeat inside it was slowing. Every few seconds, a faint pulse of light blinked, softer than before. She's fading, Evan said quietly. We have minutes, not hours. They landed near the same shelter where Leora had once lived. Smoke rose from a broken chimney. When the ramp opened, dry air rushed in. The three of them ran toward the door. Inside, the room was dark except for the small light of a heater. Leora sat on a chair, her skin pale, her breathing shallow. The mechanical pulse of her synthetic heart ticked unevenly. She looked up as they entered. Her eyes widened when she saw them. Rin, Mira, she whispered. Then her gaze fell on the box in Evan's hands. Her voice broke. You brought it back. Rin knelt beside her, tears filling her eyes. We found him, Mom. He's not what we thought. Leora smiled faintly. He never was. Evan stepped forward, placing the box on the table. The heart inside beat once, glowing brighter as if it recognized her. He opened the lid carefully. Warm light filled the room. The pulse grew stronger. Leora's hand trembled as she reached out. "It's calling me," she said softly. Evan nodded. "It's still alive because of you. It wants to return home." Rin turned to him. "But how?" He looked down at the heart. "There's a way. My ship's med unit can transfer it back, but if I disconnect it from me completely..." He paused. Rin understood. "You'll die." He didn't reply. He only smiled, tired but peaceful. "I took something that was never mine. Maybe giving it back is what I was meant to do." Mira shook her head. "No, there has to be another way." Leora looked at her daughters, her voice gentle. "Sometimes love is not about keeping life. It's about giving it back." Evan walked to the medical bed beside her. He placed the glowing heart on the device. The light flickered, sensing its original owner nearby. He activated the system. "When it connects, it'll pull my life out with it. Once it stabilizes, seal the unit." Rin grabbed his arm. "You don't have to do this." He looked at her with calm eyes. "Yes, I do. I've lived years with a heart that didn't belong to me. It's time it finds its home." He placed her hand gently over the box. "Take care of her." The machine started to hum. Light threads formed between the human and the heart. Energy moved through the air, glowing gold and white. Evan gasped as his knees weakened. The color drained from his face. Leora's body jerked as her synthetic core shorted out. Sparks flew from her chest as the energy merged. The heart floated above them for a moment, pure, bright, alive, then descended slowly into Leora's chest. The glow spread across her body. Her breath steadied. The machine's hum softened into silence. Rin and Mira stood frozen, holding each other. Evan collapsed beside the bed. His pulse was faint, his eyes half closed. Leora opened her eyes, her chest rising with steady rhythm. She looked around, confused. "Where is he?" she asked weakly. Rin pointed to the floor. "He's right here." She reached out her hand, placing it on his chest. Her eyes filled with tears. "He gave me back my heart," she whispered. "Now it's my turn." She closed her eyes and pressed her palm firmly. A soft light passed from her into him. The glow linked them for a few seconds, then faded. Evan's chest moved slightly. His breath returned, weak but real. For a long time, no one spoke. Only the steady beat of two hearts filled the room. One human, one alien, both beating together. Outside, the first sunlight broke through the storm clouds. The wind carried the scent of new rain. Mira looked at her mother and smiled through her tears. "You're alive." Leora touched her chest and nodded. "So is he." The world that had forgotten hope was quiet once again. But inside that small room, two hearts had found a way to share life. The morning sun rose over Varian for the first time in many years. Golden light spread across the ruins, touching the cracked walls and empty fields. The wind that once carried dust now carried warmth. Inside the small shelter, a faint rhythm filled the silence. Two hearts beating as one. Leora sat up slowly, her chest glowing softly under her skin. She looked at her daughters sleeping beside her. Both were safe, both breathing peacefully for the first time in weeks. Then her gaze moved to the man lying near the table. Evan. He looked pale but alive. His body was weak, yet every breath he took was steady. She touched her chest and felt something new. Her real heart was back, but it was not the same. It pulsed with a strange energy, a second rhythm hidden within. She walked over and knelt beside him. His pulse matched hers exactly. Half of her heart now lived inside him. She whispered, "You didn't just return it. You shared it." Evan opened his eyes slowly. The light of dawn reflected in them. "You're awake," he said softly. She smiled. "Because of you." He looked confused. "Because of us," she corrected gently. Mira stirred awake and ran to hug her mother. Rin followed, tears still shining in her eyes. For the first time in years, the warmth of a real heartbeat filled their home. Evan sat up with effort. "You should rest," he said. Leora shook her head. "No, there's something you need to see." She guided him outside. The morning air was cool, carrying the smell of wet soil. Around them, plants were beginning to bloom again, tiny green shoots pushing through the dust. "The storm stopped," Evan said quietly. "It stopped the moment you gave the heart back," Leora replied. "This world was dying because it had forgotten kindness. Maybe that's what the universe was waiting for." They walked together through the old market street. Ruins stood tall like bones of a forgotten city. But now, faint light shimmered between the cracks of the buildings, energy flowing from the heart's return, spreading across the ground like veins of gold. Rin and Mira followed behind, watching in wonder as flowers began to rise where ash had once fallen. Evan stopped and touched the ground. "It's healing," he whispered. Leora nodded. "Just like us." They reached the old well at the center of town. It was the same place where Leora once traded her last possessions to feed her children. Now the stone glowed faintly, reflecting her heartbeat. She looked at Evan. "Do you know why the heart kept you alive all these years?" He shook his head. "I never understood." "Because it saw what you couldn't," she said. "You carried its kindness even when the world gave you nothing back." He looked down, quiet. "I don't think I deserved it." "You do now," she said with a smile. "Because you returned it when no one else would." A soft breeze passed over them. The sunlight grew stronger. The heart inside both of them beat in perfect rhythm. Mira stepped forward. "Will you stay with us?" Evan looked at the two girls, then at Leora. "If you'll have me." Rin smiled for the first time in a long while. "You're already part of us." They stood together as the colony began to awaken. People slowly came out of their shelters, looking at the changing sky. The color of the air shifted from dull gray to soft blue. Hope, long buried, began to return. Later that day, Evan helped repair the power grid. Leora joined him, her strength returning more with every hour. Wherever they walked, the ground came alive with faint light. Their hearts, now connected, seemed to spread life wherever they went. At sunset, they stood by the doorway of the shelter, watching the horizon glow. "This world will live again," Leora said. Evan looked at her, his voice steady. "Because of your heart." She shook her head. "Because of your gift." The sky darkened and stars began to appear one by one. Rin and Mira played near the fire, laughing like children again. Their voices carried through the quiet evening. Evan turned to Leora. "I used to think saving lives was about strength," he said. "But maybe it's about how much you're willing to give." She smiled gently. "You gave your life once. Now the universe gave it back." They stood together, silent and peaceful. The glow inside their chests faded to a soft rhythm, one shared between two beings from different worlds. Far above, among the stars, the energy of the living heart spread through the atmosphere, a signal of life reborn. On a planet that had once forgotten hope, a human and an alien mother now shared one gift. A single heart that refused to die, even across worlds. And as night settled over Varion, that heart continued to beat, carrying their story through the endless stars.